the hip is okay. It has this Sprunggelenk.
Okay, right.
To the left, as far as possible. Down. These are the first two bars, and finally we reach this one.
So I am in Bavaria right now. Bit of a recovery run today. Today's Wednesday. I just ran the Munich Marathon on Sunday. More to come on that one. I did film some clips before the race and have some ideas for maybe a recap video for that one. So I'm not going to talk about that one too much here today. So this is a bit of a special video today. I visited a master German shoemaker yesterday. Actually, insole maker for my purposes, and very enlightening. Just an amazing experience. The level of detail and knowledge that he has, definitely very unique in terms of how I might think of insoles in the future. I've been doing a lot of insole testing. Check out the channel. I've got the Superfeet carbon one there, and also actually a couple of other ones on the way. I'm actually wearing the insoles today. I'm gonna pop the shoes off and give a close-up in a little bit. The impetus for this visit actually was my wife. She's been having some issues with her feet. Morton's neuroma situation, plantar plate tears. She primarily mountain bikes, but it's been a few months of dealing with foot issues in her left foot and just has not been able to find relief. So this was just kind of something to look into to see if maybe we can get a custom insole setup that would alleviate pressure or, you know, help her maybe recover from these injuries, at least at some point. I took a lot of video clips while we were in the process of getting fitted, aligned, measured. You're gonna see it later on. You know, the guy's Bavarian and it's half English, half German, and it's a completely unique process the way he goes about aligning your body to set up the customized insoles that he makes right there, right after the analysis. I thought it'd be probably a little bit useful if I gave a little bit of an introduction here, so at least you'll know what you're getting into here. Otherwise, it's probably a little bit confusing. So to summarize very quickly, again, you're going to be able to watch the entire process after this intro. He takes more of a full body stability and alignment analysis approach to setting up his customized insoles. He's not just taking scans of your feet and trying to say fill in gaps or maybe adjust some sort of overpronation or eversion or other aspects that would be probably more typical or standard in a typical insole setup. So Michael Weiss, Michael, like me, that's his name, he's been researching for, I believe, at least 20 to 30 years, and the main crux of his process is this kind of rotational analysis that he does. He set up a custom system using a laser, and it gets mounted on your head, and you kind of turn left and right, and he takes measurements as to how far you can rotate your head both left and right. And apparently the values you get from there, the amount that you are, I guess not flexible, but the amount that you are free within your full body kinetic chain to turn left or right is highly dependent on, I guess, your kinetic chain, as I just said, starting from the ground up. So it's pretty incredible. He takes the measurements, and obviously I tend to have some stiff neck issues, and especially on my right side recently, tightness in my right shoulder. I saw my wife actually getting this process. To go back to the beginning, she did her whole analysis, and I was just blown away by the whole thing. And I'm like, I want to do this. Luckily, he had a cancellation, so he did her whole setup, and then he was able to squeeze me in right there, right after her, which was great. So he measures you left to right, and I knew I was gonna be, it was bad. Like I can't really turn all the way around. And then he goes about inserting wedges under your feet, kind of at the same time analyzing your hips, your knees. You know, he's very experienced. He's doing this kind of manually, and he's able to tell based on your footwear pattern. Again, first thing, I skipped this, but he takes an imprint of your foot on an ink paper, and based on that, he's able to tell if there's issues with your hips. Eyes is a big one. Apparently, vision affects your rotation and your kinetic chain a lot, and also jaw and your teeth. Tightness in your jaw, he can feel whether that affects your rotation or not. So it's very interesting. He puts some wedges under your feet, left and right, to kind of account for probably these imbalances that you have, so to speak. This might not be the right word, imbalance, but to kind of, if your hips are twisted one way or the other, or you're kind of off center, left or right, or jaw tightness is causing some certain issue, or vision is also causing you some certain imbalance. He puts these wedges in very specific areas under your feet and then remeasures your rotational angle, how much you're able to turn left and right. And it's astonishing. You can see, like I barely turned over my left and right shoulder, and then he just put like tiny things under my feet, and then I was almost like turning around like exorcism. Not that bad, but I was almost turning around completely behind me. It was just incredible. So the idea is that instead of, you know, putting a band-aid on your problem, or maybe propping up your foot in a certain area to say make it feel better, this is what my wife has been dealing with. She's got a bit of a plantar plate tear, so they stuck some metatarsal pads under the middle of her foot, and it does give a little bit of relief, but it's more or less like a band-aid on the situation. It's like, okay, you have this tear, we're gonna pad it so you're more comfortable, and, you know, cross our fingers that it will heal, you know, over time, as long as you don't exacerbate the problem. The kind of opposite approach is taken here, or was taken here in this analysis. It's more or less starting from the beginning, not the end where your injury is. He actually, my wife asked, do you want to hear what the doctor said? Do you want to look at the x-ray? He said, no, I don't want to see anything. I just want to do my analysis. I don't want to see what they said or what you think is wrong or this or that. He's essentially starting from the beginning, looking at how your posture, alignment, stabilization, rotation, how you're standing, and trying to balance that out. And then in a more long-term approach, hope that stabilizes everything and that you're in a better position from the beginning, rather than just trying to say make your feet more comfortable at the end of the process, or perhaps when they're already injured or you're already having an issue. So without further ado, let's take you straight to my customized insole analysis and creation process. I think that's what I'm going to call it. Of course, any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I will do my best to answer them. I know this is a little bit different and the language thing may be a little bit confusing. So any questions, let me know down below in the comments. I am going to film a little bit of a, I guess, second day testing feel out video here, close up, but I'll stick that in the end there. So enjoy.
So the left foot here, so look straight ahead. I take your feet and you walk to the front. Up. Okay, and walk. Walk, walk, walk. Okay, very fast. Okay, and here. And walk. Very fast. Okay. I think the hip is okay. I got something information, like maybe the shoulder left or the jaw. And a little wie heißt das Sprunggelenk, the joint, the ankle joint.
Ankle?
Okay.
Ankle, oh yeah.
This one. This. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will see. Wobei, der wird gerade umgebaut. Der wird gerade umgebaut. Ich glaube, dass der zu ist. This and have a look through the hole. Okay, right. And turn around, please. Rotate to the left side as far as possible. Put your look back with your eyes and rotate more. Okay, other side. Rotate. Fight. Okay, and front. So once more, front, and once again to the left as far as possible. You want to have a look to the back and the other side. Okay. Down. And this one. No, in the back. And down. Okay. And one more tension to the left as far as possible. So go. Yeah. Other side. Okay. You feel it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's very fine. Yeah, it's really good. This is more loose. Oh, okay. Jetzt müssen wir hier nochmal schauen. Also er hat ganz schön hohlkreuz. Das hätte man gerne ein bisschen nach oben gebracht. Okay. Da hoch, up and down again. So the first two bars, and finally we reach this one. And this is very good because we got 40 more degrees here and we got 35 degrees more here. And it's very equal in the end, so it's fine. What I'm finding with you is your hip is makes a little torsion to the right front. It's not much, but it is. So, and with this treatment on the insoles, we can fetch it or fit it. So now you have to dry this. So with your eyes, I think it's okay. It's a little less than normal, but with your teeth, this is too much. Maybe it depends on this thing from yesterday, but I get no really good feedback from your hip. And normally if there's something with the teeth, I feel if you're doing like that, or if you're doing like this, or turns, or the joint makes like that, I didn't feel anything. Yeah? So we have to make a second look at this area. Ja, aber die ist nicht klar. Die
Nein.
Ja. Also sie sagt, sie hat Schmerzen,
Nein,
aber hilft, aber sonst brauchst du bei den kurzen nichts machen.
Nein.
Vielleicht Spange so spät wie möglich, ja.
Ja, aber bei ihr, die hat...
Der Zahnarzt und der Kieferorthopäde weiß dann wenigstens, was er tut.
Ja. Also, und du sagst, wir sollen dann, nach wie lang sollen wir dann die Einlagen, also wenn wir es jetzt per Post schicken, wäre das okay, oder?
Was?
Die Einlagen?
Ja, du kriegst das gleich mit.
Nein, aber wenn wir dann wieder rüberfliegen, zur Nachkontrolle oder so?
Ja, aber ich brauche eigentlich, sonst kann ich keine Kontrolle machen.
Okay.
Also das macht keinen Sinn, ja.
Okay.
So, before we talked over this, that on this line there should be no tension. Yeah? And we make a knot like this one, Kreuzschlag. Das da ist fast zu viel. Ich darf das nicht mehr einschnüren. Ich darf den obersten freilassen, weil der ist zu weit für dich.
Okay.
Zu weit hochgeschnitten, ja. So, aber jetzt merkst du schon, jetzt kannst du hier zuziehen wie der Schmied. Sitzt und hat Luft.
Okay.
Oder? So it comes out in the back. And this keeps it on the right place.
Okay.
Also muss man jetzt einfach schauen. Hände nach vorn, Füße ein bisschen breiter, lass dich nach hinten umfallen heute.
Okay.
Gut. So, jetzt im Hintern ausstrecken. Stopp. Und ein bisschen her mit dem Po. Gut, perfekt. So, Hände hin, Zehen bleiben am Boden. Okay. Locker. Schultern locker. Oh, ja, das wird runter. Lass locker. Du lupfst jetzt ein bisschen durch. Na, so.
Ah, okay.
Kopf hängen lassen.
Das ist ein bisschen schwindelig. Das bist schwindelig.
Ist jetzt was anderes wie vorher?
Ja.
Ja, das auch. Also das ist wirklich, der biegt schon in die Richtung. Also the companies try twice a year to make money. And so they need new ideas every day.
I know.
So, but shoes at their own, you must not make more development. It's here. The shoe is here, and how it works. And in the years 1910 to 1920, so the most shoes are designed and they run. So and this is also possible to be copied to a sportsman's shoe. Yeah. But they think and think and think, and it's bad. So what's very important, you can put this in every shoe where the length is given. A little kind of heel is no problem. What mustn't happen is this.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay. So you have to look that in the back it's a flat
Okay.
thing. So, die Schnürung an der richtigen Stelle. Wie es macht, ist mir wurscht, aber es muss funktionieren.
Okay.
So I think you feel now it's a little too close, but if you stand up it will be okay. Okay, so. Okay, perfect. So you have the same procedure as with your wife. You feel them?
Yes.
Okay. That's very unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we do the same. So, like this. And the front and the back. I get you, okay. Okay, so this keep on the floor. No. Okay, and back. So, and then like this.
Stick your butt out.
You're okay, deeper. Okay, that's fine. And loose your shoulders. Okay. And up. So, the front down. Loose your head. Da ist schon ein bisschen mehr Spannung dran. Okay. So, and walk again. So, anything different?
I don't know.
So, now we should.
Feels kind of weird. The things are under the foot.
Like here especially, and in the middle.
was interessant ist, das ist das.
Something about it feels like I'm going straighter. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Und dass ich bei der rechten das Gefühl gehabt habe, eine ganze Zeit lang, ich weiß auch nicht, also die Sterne.
It's good.
Ich schätze, die hat ihn ausgebaut. Genau, also das schätze ich, dass die aufbaut hat. Schön, wie es ist.
Like I don't want it too loose on the bottom.
But
I don't want to like have a
yeah,
slide.
but this structure doesn't want any pressure.
Yeah.
So also if you're making a belt around here and fix it, you're not more able to breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this structure is quite the same. The only one who gets narrow tension here is the boxer.
Oh.
Because the trainer wants to make him angry for fighting, and so he makes this one, and he can't bow for lose it. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is psychological, very interesting. You make someone angry, and he goes fighting, but you won't get angry. You won't run. You will run.
Yeah.
And so don't tight it too narrow, because it will not aim at that what you want.
I usually keep this loose, but yeah.
So now you sit in this shoe like being barefoot.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of what walking means.
Yeah.
Also in these shoes. I'm fixed in the back, and in the front I can walk. With these shoes I was 1 week to Ireland. We had lots of walks for 5-6 hours, and up, mountain, down, and only this one pair, but it runs. Yeah. So this is nothing from mountaineering running. But if you make cross running, you should have something like this, because this one is the only thing which gives you a break downhill. So if you get a shoe like that, what also gives you sureness is that this part of the shoe shouldn't move. Here, okay, it's close like toes work. But here you need to be fixed. This mustn't work in any way. Okay. And this is safety to the ankle joint. Yeah. And then in the front, okay, it has to work, of course. But I need something like this, and the other tools I could take with me. But when you need something to mill and give a form.
Good spot for a stop here. So what do you think of the video? Pause the video right now. Let me know what you think down in the comments. What questions do you have before I give you my little close-up here? So you probably noticed a couple of things there that were interesting in the video, namely specifically with my Mount to Coast shoes here, H1s, of course. Check out my full review of these. Getting into a little bit of mud over here. Not too bad. But as he was tying my laces, he actually moved the upper laces down one row, kind of overlapping with this blue quick lace area. His main thing, or one of his main things, is that, you know, and this is something, if you paid attention to my videos, this is something I've always felt, that I hate it when my forefoot is squeezed over here. And that was pretty much the big thing. He probably harped on this a few times that I didn't put in the video. This should be free to kind of adapt and move around on the ground. This section from the base of your big toe to the base of your pinky. And certain shoes, I think the Speedgo comes to mind quickly over the course of a few models, but other shoes where it relies on squeezing this area of the foot, I cannot work with those shoes. They don't get along well with my foot. So that was what he was trying to get at, that this should be free. He even said, okay, you can go and cut these blue laces off. I'm not gonna do that right away. I want to test these insoles a bit more, and of course maybe test these shoes with some other more standard insoles. But he said I could get rid of this now that he moved this down. So typically these white laces come across right here, and then the blue laces are here, which I always thought was kind of curious because it leaves this this cross is not here in the standard mount to coast setup. So it's kind of leaving a gap in perhaps a critical area. What he's getting at is this can be as secure as basically you can stand, as secure as you like it, and that's something that a lot of natural shoes do. Topo for one, roomy forefoot, super secure midfoot, and I tend to like that kind of design aspect in all of my shoes, even if they're not necessarily a wide forefoot fit. This one is pretty spacious in the forefoot. These insoles are actually pretty thin too, so I am getting even a little bit more space now that I have those thinner custom insoles. The H1 does have a bit of a thicker Ortholite insole, which I don't necessarily, or I'm not fond of. So I have more volume now with these insoles, and honestly, I kept these pretty loose. If you look here, I just kind of nominally tightened these blue ones. Again, I'm not going to go ahead and cut them off right away, but another reason why I like Matrix upper, this one is a Kevlar weave, similar to a Matrix, effectively probably the same. I like that it holds the foot well without tension. So if I could, say, get the tension down just up to the point, you know, he made that line across from here to here that you don't want to squeeze, get your laces down to that point and have the upper, or rely on the upper to hold the foot, which is really why I like Matrix uppers, because they do hold the foot without too much stretch and like letting your foot slide around too much. So let me pop these off real quick. So I showed you some close-up pictures in the video earlier, but I just wanted to kind of talk it through. I always have issues with my right ankle. I get some kind of pain over here. I feel like I have a little bit of a pronation, not overpronation. I don't want to go the standard, you know, way of diagnosing. You know, pronation is a weird thing to kind of talk about in the running context, but I always feel a little bit of pain below the ankle, and I always have the tightness in my right Achilles. So, and I could feel there's something different about my right leg as a whole, or ankle complex, whatever it is. I tend to get the issues in the right foot, and my left foot always feels like dead solid. How I've been approaching that in the past is I always think, okay, well, I think in the typical context, I want to fix my right foot. I'm not thinking about fixing my entire alignment. How would I do that anyway? Or even making any adjustments to my left foot, because it feels totally fine. So I would take my right insole and maybe stick some felt pads or some kind of inserts underneath the right arch, maybe a heel lift. I've been in the past kind of manipulating my right shoe to try to like get a better feel, or, you know, have less kind of issues on the run, to varying degrees of success. Every shoe is different with the contouring underfoot and all that stuff. So it can work or not work in certain shoes and not in other shoes. It's always pretty much hit or miss. One thing I never thought of course, is, you know, the overall alignment. And what you have here is I have two completely different insoles. And curiously, nothing under my right heel, or really the right, you know, rear arch area. He does put some inserts here, which goes kind of crosswise across my right foot. So if you could kind of see that there, it's kind of like a bulb out, which goes crosswise across the middle of my foot. By the way, these little square things, these are just stickers, so ignore those. And he puts these little bars here, so there's a little bit of a raised bar on the upper edge on this one, and also this is my left insole here, on here. So again, I never did anything with my left insole, and he has these wedges right here on my left instep under the left heel. And I obviously was always of the mindset and of the thought completely opposite. Like, these wedges I would be putting on my right foot under my right inner heel area. So completely different. There's also this little kind of bulb out here he has in the middle of the foot, again with one of these bars. And you saw through the process, it was a matter of getting my rotation kind of optimal and equal on both sides. So I went from something like 100 or 110 degrees of rotation to like 140 in both directions by just standing on these, you know, relatively small things. You wouldn't think you could turn your head 30 degrees extra by like tilting your body a certain way, but it apparently adjusts your, you know, my wife had more issues with her hips. She had that, I think, when she was a baby, or she had a hip dysplasia type of thing. So one hip or the other is rotated in the opposite direction. He said my hips were kind of fine, a little bit, I think, twisting to the left is what he said. But then there was something with my jaw. So apparently there's hip things, there's knee things. Your jaw and your bite and your vision also can affect things, which is interesting. And I did put a little text note in there. There's all these things I've heard about Kipchoge smiling in the marathon, and that strikes me as applicable here because he noticed less rotation. He had me stand there and like bite down really hard and then release, then bite down really hard and then release, and then he would take the measurements or just feel, you know, he would have his hands on my hips or whatever, wherever it was, and he would feel the tension release when I unclenched my jaw or stopped biting down on my teeth. So that's something to think about if you think you're running a race and you think you're really gonna like tear it up towards the finish line and you're gonna grit your teeth and you're gonna get the most out of yourself. You might want to think about maybe relaxing and smiling instead. You'll probably release tension and run faster. That was just something that I thought was curious and obviously objectively measurable. I mean, I've heard that before, I've read about it before, but to see, you know, a 30-degree improvement or you know, an applicable or objective improvement in alignment, rotation, whatever, by just like biting down on your teeth, that's quite interesting. So there's probably an adjustment period on these. He mentioned it being a long-term thing, and that makes sense to me because you're essentially, at least on the basis of standing still, and it's still, I think, to me, a question of whether that is applicable on the run. Also, whether this is a walking thing, you know, your natural heel striking walking motion may be different than my natural midfoot, forefoot striking motion. These are all kind of considerations that I think, you know, is this 100% applicable to the running that I'm doing? Like this, I could see this being in the walking context, of course, or of course these measurements were taken standing still. But the thing is, so you're changing your entire balance, or essentially the entire way that you're standing, and your entire kinetic chain is aligned from the bottom of your feet all the way up to your head, you know, your vision and everything. So he did say it could take some time to adjust to this. So I'm definitely going to give these a long look, a long shot in testing. Try to use them as much as possible. They're definitely thinner. That's one aspect. Again, I talked about I test or swap in TPU insoles. I tested that carbon fiber one, which is also beaded TPU. The H1 insole is Ortholite. It's thicker and softer, obviously. He's obviously against soft shoes because soft shoes, you know, dulls the sensation, the connection between your brain, your vision, and the ground. He's obviously a bigger fan of having a firmer midsole, less flexible shoe. Firmer insole, of course, you can see here. So, you know, it remains to be seen. Of course, I am going to test these out as much as I can, try to swap them in and out of different shoes as they can fit, and just see if I notice any improvement. I think, I don't know how noticeable it will be. He did say that he has designed these for certain mountain runners that live in the area, and he said that they really like them. So it's not just, you know, a shoe shop for kind of like cruising around town. He does have some athletes, and he also deals with kind of impairments, disablements, like children, like misalignments, all kinds of stuff he could kind of work on through insoles like this. So again, I'm going to try them out. I hope you like this video. It's definitely a different approach. You know, I've been testing those insoles, so I'm not married to having a carbon fiber insole or a certain insole. I test everything. You see me talk about it a lot in my videos. Insole swapping, putting wedges in, now carbon fiber. I've had custom insoles before. I actually have another one that I'm going to review, I believe from Kila, which is another customized insole. I'm also going to test that one. So I'm going to treat everything equally, and you know, whatever works best for me. I'm not married to one thing or another. So I guess it remains to be seen. I will keep you posted. If this strikes you as something you need, I mean, you could have been walking around your entire life feeling off balance or just like searching for the right solution. If you looked at that analysis and that seems very striking to you, it might be worth it to hop on a flight over here. You know, let me know. I could give you the information. I mean, it could be life-changing. It could be, you know, I don't know. Let me know. You know, I'll put you in contact. We're gonna try to bring this guy to the U.S. I mean, I could imagine there are certain people that we know that have foot issues long term and that are just like desperate for relief. And you know, maybe we'll get him over there and he could kind of help some of our friends out. In any case, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in to Humble Running. Check out the website, www.humblerunning.com. More insole stuff to come in the future. For now, I'll just carry on running in these. And, you know, I'll see you in the next video. See you out on the trails. Have a good one. Servus.